Do we have Bhuwanaji? No, she seems to be away. Okay, so Anu, could you do the invocation? Sahana Bhavatu.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anu. So, welcome back. Hope everybody is doing good. So, we will continue our discussion. So, we have been discussing the topic called Nididhyasanam. It was such an important topic, and today we are going to conclude that topic and move on to the next topic. So, Anu, if you don't mind, sorry to put you on spot, if you could chant these Nididhyasanam verses, especially verses from 32 to 39, that would be really good. Sorry, I didn't tell you earlier. If it is possible, if you have the book and everything in your hand.
Sure, I can do that, Rishi.
So let me share the screen for everybody to see. And let's have that quick chanting and we will continue. So, Nididhyasanam. Okay. So, yeah, please go ahead.
Dehanyatvam name janma Jarakarshalayadayaha Shabdadi Vishayai Sangaha Nirindriyatayanacha Amanastvam name dukkha Ragattvesha bhayadayaha Aprano hyamana shubhraha Ityadi shruti shasanat
Amanat
Nirguno nishkriyo nityaha Nirvikalpo niranjanaha Nirvikaro nirakaraha Nityamukto'smi nirmalaha
Nirguno
Ahamakashavat sarvam Bahirantargatochyutaha Sada sarvasamassiddhaha Nissango nirmalochalaha Nityashuddha vimuktaikam Akhandanandamadvayam Satyam jnanamanantam yat Param brahmahame tat Evam nirantarabhyasta Brahmaivasmiti vasana Haratya vidya vikshepan Roga nivarasayanam Vivikta desha asinaha Virago vijitendriyaha Bhavayedekamatmanam Tamananyadhihi Atmanyevakhilam drishyam Pravilapya dhiya sudhihi Bhavayedekamatmanam निर्मलाकाशवत् सदा.
2 more verses.
रूपवर्णादिकं सर्वं विहाय परमार्थवित् परिपूर्णचिदानन्दा स्वरूपेणावतिष्ठते.
Okay, so we can pause here. So we have been talking about Nididhyasanam. So let's take a pause and let's hear, right? If means we can have a quick discussion, not me alone. We can see what is Nididhyasanam and what is the significance of Nididhyasanam. So let's start a quick discussion because we covered up to verse 37. And in fact, honestly, with 37, the key Nididhyasanam is over. 38 and 39 also talking about Nididhyasanam, but from a third person's perspective. Because last week I said Shankara talked about Nididhyasanam, and every Nididhyasanam has the first person pronoun. But from 38 and 37, it's an instruction given by the master, but again about Nididhyasanam. So let's pause rather than just a theoretical study or a superficial understanding of the abstract concept. Let's see and make sure that we have clarity on this topic because this is such an important topic. So last week I gave a little bit more overview and tried to make the Nididhyasanam a little bit more clear. We understood that the word Nididhyasanam also came from the root again dhyayi, right? Dhyanam dhyayi, that means to sit and contemplate. And you added a prefix ni, means definite, and then asana means in a seat. So Nididhyasanam is a special kind of meditation, unlike conventional meditation, where you meditate upon a separate object outside of you. For example, if it is a concentration meditation, you might be concentrating on your breathing, or you might be concentrating on an external sound like Om, or you might be concentrating on a mantra, or you might be concentrating the form of a deity. All that of meditation is possible, but Nididhyasanam is a different kind of meditation. The purpose of that normal meditation practices or the ordinary meditation practice is completely different from that of Nididhyasanam. And the Nididhyasanam need to be preceded by that normal meditative practice also. So can anybody just think loud? What is the difference? What is the purpose of that normal meditation? And what is the purpose of Nididhyasana? And what is the significance of each of these different practices? What is your thought? What is your understanding? What is the purpose of the normal meditative practice?
Chitta Siddhi.
Stability of mind. Yeah. Gain control over your mental activities, right? Means right now, the flow of thoughts in my mind, I have zero control. Aristotle said, anybody can become angry, but to express the right amount of anger at the right time, at the right proportion, is almost impossible. Isn't it? Whatever thoughts you want, you don't want, it comes to our mind. Whatever thoughts you want, it never comes. Even if it comes, it flows. It just fades away. So think about this. You're driving a car and you don't have control over the wheel. Mind is an instrument given to us. It's a powerful instrument given to us. And all our success, everything we pursue in our life is dependent upon mind, because mind is the manager of all the activities. Whatever is performed by our body, whatever is perceived by our body, whatever we do, whatever we feel, whatever we speak, everything is controlled and governed by the mind. So mind is the manager of the company. Imagine, he is the CEO of the company. If the manager himself do not have control, what would be the case? So when we study Upanishad, there is a brilliant Upanishad called Katha Upanishad. In that, this whole idea is described through a Ratha Kalpana. We saw that in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, if you remember. Atmanam Rathinam Buddhi, Shariram Rathayevachu, Buddhim tu Saradim Buddhi, Vithi, Mana. There is a set of verses. So if the mind is not in control, what is going to happen? If the mind and intellect, the deciding factor and the controlling factor, if that they are not in control, our life is going to be a mess. So whether my goal is spiritual or secular, I need to have control over my mind. And for that, I practice Upasana Yoga. And this is exactly what is Raja Yoga also, right? Patanjali's meditative practice, Yoga Sutra, is mainly talking about this particular subject. So this is what is the purpose of normal meditation. And somebody asked me a question offline through WhatsApp. The question was, when you say yoga, the conventional yoga practice, what exactly is yoga? This is a question we answered multiple times, but since it came up, I will answer one more time. The word yoga came from the root yuj, which has two different meanings. You can interpret that word in two different ways, and both the meanings are applicable here. That's the beauty. So the first meaning is yuj melane. That is the way of interpreting. Melane means connection, integration, union. And every yoga studio talks about this meaning. Union means what? Union of your Jivatma with the Paramatma. Union of the Prakriti with the Purusha. I am trying to understand my true nature. Current state, I am limited to my body, mind, and senses. And I am going to realize that my real identity is that infinite Atman, which pervades the entire universe. And I'm not seeing myself as separate from anything else in the universe. I'm shifting my identity to the Jivatvam, to the Brahmatvam. To that point, Nididhyasanam plays a big role there. So this is the real one meaning of the word yoga. So this meaning, if you apply this meaning, how many people will be qualified to have achieved yoga? Maybe handful people in the whole universe. So that's why we come down and go to the second meaning. And what is the second meaning? Yujirao iti samadhi. Yoga is samadhi. And what is that samadhi we are talking here? Don't say that some Swamiji died. That is one top general meaning people think. Since you studied chapter 8, you know why the death is called as samadhi. So that's it. It's a convention. That's it. Nothing more than that. So when a king passes away, right? You use one expression. When a sage passes away, you use some expression. So that's it. So don't link with that. Samadhi means your mind is brought into a condition which is the most optimal, stable, controlled state. This is samadhi. This is the Savikalpa Samadhi. Samadhi itself is called into 5 or 6 different types, but this is the common meaning of samadhi. The best definition I have seen is provided by Swami Vivekananda. He used the term a well-placed mental state. That is the term he has used in his lecture. Brilliant definition. A well-placed mental state. For example, any equipment will perform optimally under certain operating conditions, right? You may want to say that this is the temperature, this is the power you need. So when you have the optimal condition, optimal operating condition, an equipment will perform optimally. What is that condition in which the human mind performs well? The human mind being in its natural state. That is what is samadhi. So this is the second definition of yoga. Now, this is a state. This is a noun. So what is yoga again means? It can be used as a verb also. If yoga represents a state called samadhi, which is an optimal mental state, any sadhana you do to reach that optimal state can also be called as yoga, right? When I go to this Tower Center bus station, or when you go to New York Penn Station, you see Washington DC, a train written as Washington DC. Even they call, right? This is in India, like in bus stand, they call, like they will say, this is Chennai, this is Bangalore, this is, you know that bus is not Bangalore. It tells that this bus is going to take you to Bangalore. So any practice that takes you to the state of samadhi can also be called as yoga. Now you put adjectives. If you use your karma as a sadhana to take to this optimal mental state, which is the pure state, stable state, that practice is definitely, any practice that you take you to a stable state or a pure state is known as yoga. And if you use karma as a means for reaching that state, that becomes karma yoga. If you use meditation as a means, it is upasana yoga. If you use your devotion to God as a means to reach that state, it is called bhakti yoga. And if you use your music as a means to reach that state, it is nada yoga. So now, is it clear what is yoga and why there is so many yogas? So these different types of yoga, they fit into one common framework. What is that common framework? It is that framework. That framework generally identifies whether it is karma yoga, upasana yoga, bhakti yoga, hatha yoga, any type of yoga. Tomorrow you come up with ABC yoga, it doesn't matter. All these practices would lead you to that state of mind. It is that practice is called yoga. So any spiritual practice would fall under this category. And that is why this many yogas are there. More than 80 plus yogas are referred in our scriptures. So, and it could be more even. So this is the answer. Clear? I think all of you are on mute. You can unmute. By default, the setting seems to be mute. You can unmute and talk. Any comments?
It's very nice to know that.
Okay. Excellent.
Absolutely, Rajaji.
Okay.
So Rajaji, what you spoke about was how is it different from Upasana yoga? And
okay, I am coming to that, right? So we were talking about the conventional Upasana yoga versus Nididhyasana.
Yes.
So the practice of conventional meditation is that second definition of yoga, which is to gain a stable, pure mental state. So typically when I sit and meditate upon the form of a god, or when I sit and meditate upon the sound, when I sit and think about, observe my breathing, it is for gaining control over my mind. Chitta sthiti. Whereas Upasana Yoga, Nididhyasanam is different. Nididhyasanam assumes that you are in a relatively stable state. If your mind is not in that relatively stable state, you cannot do Nididhyasanam. It is impossible. So understand that. So that's why I said the practice of Nididhyasanam should be preceded by what? The conventional meditation. So you cannot go and sit and start doing Nididhyasana immediately. It may not be effective. So you may want to just do some relaxation meditation to make sure that your mind, body is just a little bit relaxed and focus a little bit. And then when the mind is relatively quiet, that is the time the Nididhyasanam needs to be practiced. And what is this Nididhyasanam? We spend a lot of time. What is the goal of the Nididhyasanam? We said the Vedanta or the knowledge that I am the Atma is revealed only through three processes: Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. And what is the purpose of Shravanam? What exactly the Shravanam is going to remove?
Now, ignorance.
Exactly. So Shravanam is going to expose the teaching. So you're seeing a snake in a dark alley. Somebody is going to come and tell you that, hey, this is not a snake, this is a rope. So that ignorance is removed through that words. So that is Shravanam. So Shravanam is the teaching of the scripture or studying the scripture under the guidance of a master. Why the under the guidance of a master is emphasized? Otherwise it will be misinterpreted. You won't understand anything because you have to follow a teaching methodology. Bookish knowledge will not help to understand Vedanta. So studying the scripture under the guidance of a teacher for a sufficient period of time. This is the definition of Shravanam. This definition is given by Pujya Swami Paramarthananda ji. It's a brilliant definition. Studying the scripture under the guidance of a capable master for a sufficient period of time, that is known as Shravanam. And the purpose, as Rohit ji said, the purpose is to remove the ignorance. And what is the purpose of Mananam? What is Mananam? Analysis, logical thinking, connecting the dots. Why? What exactly is the purpose? So if Shravanam is going to remove the ignorance, or means to, what is Mananam is going to remove? Doubts. Confusions.
Yeah, doubt.
Now, once you have Shravanam and Mananam, logically it is clear that yes, I am Atma. For example, we understand the Swapna Drishtanta or understand all these teaching methodologies, Drigdrishya Viveka, Avastatraya, and Avastatraya, we do the Swapna Drishtanta and the waking a lot, and you understand that, okay, I am not body. I continue to exist even after body. Body is a gadget given to me to transact with the relative world I am in, all that is given. So that is Shravanam and Mananam. And now the Nididhyasanam is for what? In spite of that Shravanam and Mananam, what happens? This habitual thinking, right? Viparita bhavana, like the wrong understanding or the wrong feeling, because your experience contradict with what is being taught. We took a lot of example, right? The sun going round to the west, the sun setting, like the earth appears to be flat, the earth appears to be stationary. All that is habitual thinking. Even though you know the fact, your feeling is different. So how do you remove that habitual thinking? And that's where the practice of Nididhyasanam is going to come. And you are telling yourself repeatedly so that the habitual thinking created through millions of years of evolution not just from this life, from the carry forward of the previous life. Whatever is that habitual thinking is completely removed. So removal of habitual thinking, and that is the goal of purpose of Nididhyasanam. And it is actually in spite of the cognitive clarity. The cognitive clarity is given through the Shravanam and Nididhyanam, and the habitual thinking would be the problem after that. And once that habitual thinking is done, you are stable. Thereafterwards, there is no going back. So one definition of Nididhyasanam given by Shankaracharya is to see the truth, to repeat the truth to yourself again and again for clarity, for removing any habitual thinking is Nididhyasanam. Any doubt on this topic? If it is any doubt, please raise, because this is such an important topic we need to understand. And if you want to study Upanishad in detail, we need to have clarity on the Nididhyasanam.
Rajaji, can Mananam be considered to be the same as contemplation?
Mananam is analysis to a certain type, means, oh, yeah, if you use the English word, it is, yeah, analysis, logical analysis. So contemplation is, yeah, again, it can be called as, loosely called as contemplation. Nididhyasana also can be called as contemplation, meditation.
Called as contemplation. I was trying to draw a parallel between, like, can we, like, when we meditate, can Mananam be a form of meditation?
Absolutely. It can be a concentration meditation.
Okay.
Concentration.
And what about, and so can Nididhyasana, right?
Nididhyasana, that is why it is a meditation. So it's a special kind of meditation. It is not focusing on anything else. Right? That is Nididhyasana. We will do a few Nididhyasana once this topic is covered in one of, I'll talk to Gina and we will practice a few. Okay, so let's continue.
Rajesh, before we go, one question. So our wrong understanding is the reason for our suffering, right?
Correct.
When we say our, is that more we are saying the mind, the Sukshma Sharira, or Karana Sharira, or both?
Right. So when we say our, these pronouns are very difficult, okay? So we need to be very careful. So typically when I say I, Gina, right? Who am I referring to? Jiva.
Mm-hmm.
So deluded entities. So it's like, imagine in an ocean, hundreds of waves are there. Imagine that these waves have minds. So one wave is saying that to other waves that all of us, we are deluded. So when we say we, it refers to a different order of reality, because the water can be considered as a different order of reality compared to waves. Definitely there is a reality for the waves, which is different from the absolute reality. So when I say our misunderstanding, where am I standing? What is my frame of reference? I am standing in that relative reality. Whether I like it or not, I cannot ignore that. Because at this point of time, I am staying as an individual Rajesh, and I see myself separated from everybody else. I cannot negate that. If I negate that, that teaching is wrong. That is denying the world and denying the facts. So what am I saying here, or what Vedanta truly speaking is saying? It is taught differently. That's not our problem. What Shankaracharya telling, actually in the next, the verse, one of the verse coming is going to clarify that. So what Shankaracharya telling is, he tells, while I exist as an individual, I need to understand that there is a higher order reality for me, and that reality is one for all of us. And that is my real reality. That's what it means. So transcending that relative reality and getting connected to the absolute reality. That's why the Swapna Drishtanta is most powerful example. When I'm doing the lucid dream, I'm not getting away from the dream. I continue to exist in that dream, but I get connected with another order of reality. It's a brilliant example, like this lucid dream. So when I am in the dream versus waking state is two orders of reality. No doubt about it. Right? It's very easy to understand. I cannot drink water and I cannot take water, means pour water in the dream and get wet in the waking state. It's two orders of reality. And when I say that the dream becomes a lucid dream, what does that mean? The dreamer makes a connection. The dreamer, while in the dream, transcends to a different order of reality. But the dreamer continues to exist in the dream and transact with the dream. That's exactly what we want. So a Jivan Mukta Purusha is a person who is in a lucid dream. He continues to exist here. He continues to do his job. He continues to speak. He retains his identity. But he realizes his true identity, which is beyond this current order of reality. Swami Chinmayananda used to make a joke. He used to say that in Vedanta, when we say that destroy a pot, what exactly it means? In usual transactional language, when I say destroy a pot, I break the pot. So Swami Chinmayananda used to say, in Vedanta, when you say that you destroy the khadatvam, it doesn't mean that you physically destroy the pot. You continue to see the pot and the pot continue to exist, but instead of seeing it as a pot, what do you see?
Clay.
Clay. Different order of reality.
Got it.
I think this is good discussion. We are going to the actual Upanishadic discussions. This is the subject matter of the Upanishad. So now you understand, right? A certain study is required even to appreciate this Upanishadic teaching. This is very logical and extremely interesting, fascinating subject. But very often misinterpreted.
The more you learn, the more interested you get.
Yeah. And it is taught very superficially. Look at the teachings, because you see very superficially people teach. Like there is an absolute order of reality, but they don't connect with that things. And that is where masters like Shankaracharya, Swami Chinmayananda, Swami Dayananda, all these people make a huge difference. It's hard to find such people and teachers.
And for us, it is you.
No. See, I'm just repeating what they're saying, but I'm saying that the great teaching tradition. And as I said, like Vedanta is different compared to other tradition, not because of its content, but because of the powerful teaching methodology it provides. For me, the greatest example I have seen is the Swapna Drishtanta, which is part of our teaching methodology called Avasthatraya. This was the aha moment for me, and Shankaracharya's commentary. And again, I say, like, those who can understand Malayalam, read Narayana Guru's Atmopadesha Shatakam. He goes, especially even the second verse itself, he goes to this topic in depth. So these masters gave us this clarity.
So, one question, Rajesh. So
yes.
We would go to after meditation, like if once we are stable in the meditation, or once we are quite in the meditation, then we would do the Nididhyasana.
Correct.
So what would we do then?
So very simple practice. First, attempt is you are going to create a small silence of your mind, silence in your mind. Right. So it could be 3 seconds or 5 seconds. That's it. That much control you need. You don't need a huge Khanda Samadhi, they say, like, or Nimisha Samadhi, they say. You will see this in Yoga Sutra when we study, because that is what we are going to learn in Yoga Sutra, how to do this. And then once you have it, post that silence, you are going to contemplate upon these verses. So you asked a good question, Anu. So what all these verses from 32 to 38 or 39, what you see here is every human problem is discussed. I am asangaha. I am not body. I am not my feeling. So I sit and contemplate, right? Anger. For example, let's say that you're an angry person. Where is the anger belongs to? You see that silence, when you are in that silent state, nothing bothered you. You were experiencing that type of peace and happiness. So where exactly is this anger belonging to? Where exactly is my old age belonging to? Where exactly my craving for that food belonging to? Remember, that is exactly what the analysis was. Let's say that yesterday somebody was messaging me, I cannot stop thinking about chicken biryani when I sit and meditate. Really speaking. Why? Who likes chicken biryani?
Body and mind.
Yeah, it's a taste.
It's all more to senses.
Exactly. The sense and the mind combination. Like create likes and dislike. But I am different from that. Correct? So this is what you are saying. You're not negating the fact that your tongue doesn't like chicken biryani or rasgulla or whatever it is. You're not negating the fact that your ear would like to listen good music. Yes, guna guneshu vartande. We'll see in 3rd chapter of the Gita also. When the sense organs contact with the sense objects, you get some likes and dislikes. That is completely fine. Even Krishna had his likes and dislikes. Swami Chinmayananda again used to say, look at every god. They have likes and dislikes. Saraswati, which instrument she likes?
Veena.
And if you go to Krishna, he likes flute. And what is the robe Krishna always wear?
Yellow.
He's known as Pidambara. And Saraswati? White color. And look at Shiva. He has a strange costume. That's okay. So that is belonging to these subtle elements. As long as you restrict there and enjoy that, and if that likes and dislikes are not contradicting the dharma. Mind you, this is the word. Likes and dislikes are completely okay. I heard people teaching that Vedantin should not have any likes and dislikes. Is it practical? Did Krishna ever said that? I forgot that verse. Gita, 3rd chapter, there is a word. Indriyasyendriyasyarthe ragadveshau vyavastitau. So, the sense organs interact with sense objects because of likes and dislikes. And your mind, not you, your mind and body has likes and dislikes. Heat and cold. Success and failure. It is there. But you have to keep it at that level. And understand that I am different from that. So you have to have an objective mind to look at these likes and dislikes and what they trigger. And I should have the ability to choose whether to act based on that likes and dislikes impulse. Let's say that I like sweets, right? So you hear about Nooms and all these MyFitnessPal and everything. Why do you track your calories? You are in a diet and you wanted to reduce your weight. You see a bunch of sweets. What is my likes and dislikes going to tell me?
You can cheat one time.
Go and grab those seeds. Is it wrong? No, because my tongue likes the sweets. Guna guneshu vartante. So my tongue will like sweets. And can I change that? Can I force myself? No, that is not going to work. So now, is that a dharma for me at that point of time? No, because my body can eat little, maybe one sweet I can eat if I'm not a diabetic. If I'm a diabetic, I cannot eat sweet. So what is dharma telling? What is likes and dislikes telling? And if there is a contradiction between what is dharma telling versus what is likes and likes telling, I should have the ability to follow the dharma. That's all Krishna is telling. Krishna never said that you should not have likes and dislikes. Indriyasya arthe ragadveshau vyavasthitau. So he tells, don't come under their sway. And he called them as paripantinaha, like highway robbers. You're going for a journey. You're going towards a destination. Whatever is your goal, this likes and dislikes is going to, it's like a highway robber. It is going to take stuff away from you and put you away from your path. So how to develop that skill? Because right now, when there is a contradiction between my likes and dislikes versus what needs to be done at that point of time, who wins?
Depends on the person.
Likes and dislikes, usually.
Most of the times, the likes and dislikes in my current state. So why this means we talk about Noom a lot. But what is the purpose of 80%, 90, those who follow Noom, you know that. 90% of Noom's guidance is to gain this control, this likes and dislikes control. So most of this weight control program, it is psychological. So what they are teaching you is when there is a temptation, how do you take control over the temptation? That's it. And if you try to say that this is sin, that is wrong. So Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, when you practice, what is going to happen? The purity of the mind is very significant, especially for purity of mind is significant, especially for following that dharma. If the mind is not pure, right? If the mind has the impurity, what is that impurity typically? Shat vairis we call. Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, Mada, and Matsarya. This is the general identification of these enemies within. And these enemies are formed by wrong habit. And the purpose of the Karma Yoga is when you follow the proper work with proper attitude, with Panchamahayajna, that is going to flush out these wrong tendencies. So in the beginning stages of my practices, what I feel to do would be totally different from what I need to do. There is a huge difference. What I feel to do is this. What I need to do is this. When you do Karma Yoga, you see that this gap coming closer. Mm-hmm. And once you go to that higher stage, for a self-realized master, Krishna said, how long you have to consciously practice Karma Yoga? Remember in the 3rd chapter we studied, till you get self-realization. And when you get to that stage, what is going to happen? What you feel to do will be?
Need to do.
Exactly. What you feel to do will be dharma. 100%. You can practice the karma yoga. I have my own experience. Means I'm not there yet, of course. But at least you see that that is why that FIR, that formula is very important. How many times you deviate from what you need to do versus what you feel to do. So frequency. And when you do deviate, what is the intensity? And the third thing is when you deviate, what is the recovery? This is the three things. So when you practice karma yoga, this gap will come down. And this is what is the whole thing. Good discussions. Any other questions? Please fire. Let's clear that.
So the 2-3 seconds of meditation, what is that state? Is it are we like, we would get thoughts? Are we, is that a thoughtless state, the 2-3 seconds, or is it that thoughts are passing, but we are not thinking through the thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. That is how initially you practice. Your thoughts are passing through. You are detaching from that. And when you are not paying a lot of attention, eventually a state will come where there is no thoughts for a few seconds. Mm-hmm. One good practice given by, actually, I would suggest a book called Art of Contemplation. Anybody read that book?
5 exercises.
Yeah, 5 exercises. Most of that exercises are for preparing for Nididhyasana. This is a 5 powerful practice given by Swami Chinmayananda. It's 99 cents or 199 or something like that in Kindle book, if you want to read that book. It's such a powerful book. Gina, I will share. If you have a comment, I can give you a physical copy. If you don't mind, can you do some of those practices? Like, let's start with that, because that practices is very important for us to get into this Nididhyasana. Sure. Art of Contemplation, one of the best meditation or book or set of practices which makes you ready for contemplation. So I would suggest 2 more books since the topic is meditation. There is one of the brilliant book I have seen, or probably the best book I have seen on meditation, is Meditation and Inner Journey by Swami Tadatmananda. I cannot find a better book on meditation. This is the best book personally I have seen.
That is, and he has now the videos on a
videos.
Sunday. Yeah. That is also very systematic way.
Very systematic way. For example, that video, every week a video will be published on meditation.
Can you repeat the name? Meditation?
Yeah, can anybody Google to Meditation and Inner Journey, I believe.
This is by Swami
Tadatmananda. So if you have a Spotify or a podcast account, you can go there and subscribe the audio of these lessons. Just listen to this. It's such an amazing, amazing set of instructions. It's there in it's podcast. You can get it from Spotify. You can get it from Rajesh Menonji. Like, could you just send that Spotify link or podcast link of this meditative practices by Swami Tadatmananda, if you have it? Otherwise, I'll share that. It is such a it is, and I since this group is so good, you can read that book. These videos are published because nowadays people cannot read, unfortunately. So if you can read, this book is a classic. I would say it's a classic, spiritual classic. Another book, if you want to understand a different perspective of meditation. So we talked about the art of contemplation. We talked about the meditation and inner journey. That is the name. Ram, what is the name you see in that book's name? I think you are.
Yeah, it is Meditation and Inner Journey.
Meditation and Inner Journey. It's there in Amazon. Actually, if you can, you can start developing the habit of reading in a electronic device. I know that it is not good for your eyes, but it's really helpful because you can consolidate all your book in one place, and all the book Rajesh Menon ji has put, just insert that into your Google Play Store. You can read like an ordinary book. It's very easy. Like if you read that in a Kindle, that's what I do. It's very good. So another book I would suggest is Meditation and Life. Anybody read that book? Again by Swami Chinmayananda. Now, if you want more, there is another book, Sure Ways to Self-Realization, something like that. It is from Bihar School of Yoga. It gives a few different meditative practices. And author is Swami Satyananda Saraswati. And if you hear about him, he's the one who developed this Yoga Nidra practice.
Rajesh, what is the third book? Meditation?
Meditation and Life by Swami Chinmayananda.
And the last one, Sure Ways of
Self-Realization. Anybody who is in Amazon can just Google it. I think
I have read Chinmayananda ji's self-realization. No, self-unfoldment.
Self-unfoldment is different.
And then self-realization also I've read.
Yeah, no, this is not Swami Chinmayananda. Like I believe that it is Sure Path to Self-Realization something. It's
Sure Ways to Self-Realization.
Correct. Sure Ways to Self-Realization by Swami Satyananda Saraswati. Swami Satyananda Saraswati is from Bihar School of Yoga. Bihar School of Yoga is something that they developed this Yoga Nidra practice. Good. So understand this meditation is very, very, very simpler. But if you want to read two books, I would strongly suggest two books. One is this Meditation and Inner Journey. Second thing is Art of Contemplation. Art of Contemplation. Swamiji gives a brilliant meditation technique to start with. So he tells when you sit down, focus on your body. Your concentration is such a way that your body is not moving. You're trying to keep the body still. With a little bit of practice, you can do that. At that time, look into your mind. It is completely silent. But the moment you take your attention from the body, you see that the mind will start talking to you. So that 5 practices are preparation practice for Nididhyasana. So let's practice with that, and then we can get into Nididhyasana.
Oh, so the body should be still in order for the mind to be still?
No. It's just a means to take your attention, right? So when you are, so the Chitta Bhumi, or the territory of the human mind, typically in the yoga school says that it can operate in 5 different conditions. 3 unhealthy conditions and 2 healthy conditions. The unhealthy conditions are known as Vikshipta, or destructive state. Imagine that you are in an extremely angry state. You don't know what you are doing. You just behave as if it is not you. That is destructive. Second state is known as dull or mudha, where you are depressive. Mind you, this is not binary state. Overlap and combination is possible also. So dull or depressive state or deluded state is the second state. The third state is known as distracted state or vikshipta. Chipta, mudha, vikshipta. Vikshipta means you can focus, but in between what happens? mind goes away from my hand. 99% of our time, that is the state we are in. So these are not so healthy states. Healthy state is, the first healthy state is known as Eka Agra. Agra means tip. The mind is focused on one tip, Eka, one area. You get this, right? When you play cards, when you play poker, when you play, watch a movie, interesting movie. Even if somebody calls you from behind, you won't know that. Ekagra. But what is the problem? Mind is in a good state. At that point of time, my work problem is not bothering me. My health problem is not bothering me. My child's problem is not bothering me. It's not that they exist, but my mind is not there. So that is Ekagra. But the problem is what? When that object of my concentration goes away, when that movie is over, I'm back to square one. So for me to focus, I need the help of something which is interesting to me. And typically, what is the problem? Where I need to focus, for example, my studies or my work, I cannot focus. So that is Ekagra. And finally, Nirodha. Nirodha means I don't need the support of an external tool or a means or anything. I am completely in control. But the state of Nirodha, which is the pure, means you might have heard the definition, right? Yoga is Chittavritti Nirodha. You are getting into that state. So that is not possible without going through Ekagra. So the focusing on the body is to develop a state, means interim stage. Like it's easy to focus the body. That's right. I would strongly suggest to read that book. And Gina, if you can do 1 or 2 meditation on that, we can conduct 1 or 2 sessions, and that will be very helpful for this group.
Will do.
Yeah, excellent. So we did just a satsang today. We didn't do any verses. I was planning to cover 4 verses, but great questions. These are great questions, and these type of discussions are needed if you want to study Upanishads. Any other questions?
Yeah, Rajesh, just a curiosity question. If you look at verse 34, every word in that verse starts with N. Is that a special significance to that? Or it's just, that's how it came about?
34.
Yeah.
It's a poetic thing, right? So Shankaracharya is also a poet. So sometimes that's it. Other than that, nothing.
Nothing in Sanskrit.
Yeah, he is negating everything, right? Or transcending everything. Nirguna, Nirakara, Nirvik, like that.
So every word he uses starts with N for some reason.
Yeah. See, there are poetic styles, like they call prasam. So prathama akshara prasam, ditiya akshara prasam. There are certain language skills they use. And composing these verses are not easy, right? So if you break these verses, like the Lekhu and Guru, like where you use the Alpa Prana, how many syllables would be there in a verse, in a quarter, and in that syllables, how many of them are Alpa Prana, how many of them are Mahaprana, there is a rule. So they stick to that.
I see. Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Like it's like writing a song. In modern days, like how do you write songs for film music? The music director gives a tune and the lyricist will write a tune in line with that music. Like that, there are certain framework. And because, for example, if you want to write it in Anushtup, they have to follow this rule. Like how many syllables will be there in a verse and how many Alpa Prana will be there, how many Mahaprana will be there. And there are hundreds of rules there. It's an art.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so we will complete Nididhyasanam, and then the topic is the benefit of this practices. Right? So one more thing is, like when you hear in Bhagavad Gita, so the 2nd chapter, the last verse, Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha or Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha. From there you hear, right? Prajahadi Sama Metha Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogadan. All those verses are a person who has practiced Nididhyasana, who had Brahmanishta. Brahmanishta. A person who has established in that Brahman and his habitual thinking is based on that Brahmanishta. So when an ideal definition of a teacher, that's where we don't fit, means none of us will fit into a teacher's definition. In one of the Upanishad, it is said that an ideal teacher has to have two qualities. One is Brahmanishta. He is already established in that Brahman. And second thing is called Shotriya, meaning he has to have the skill to express that teaching. So these are the ideal teachers, but you won't find ideal teachers. So at least we need to have a teacher who is committed to that, not at least reach there. So that's how the commentators tells. Hope this portion is clear now, right? This Nididhyasana, because I spend a lot of time trying to decode this complicated topic. So any doubt, please post, and we can break 1 or 2 sessions like satsang like this, all these questions. That would be really good, because discussing these questions is the best way to. This is Manana. What we did today is Manana.
Yeah.
So our classes should be both Shravanam and Mananam, because otherwise, I don't know. Again, I don't know. Today Swami Chinmayananda comes to my mind always. He used to say that your attitude should be, he was talking about himself. Longer the beard, greater the suspicion. You don't believe anything blindly. That's what he went. So, because, and Swami Dayananda used to say, you don't have to believe in God. You need to understand God. That's the difference of Vedanta with most of the other traditions, including the Hindu traditions. That makes Vedanta very unique. So I requested Vikrant Singh Tomar to write a book on this topic which we started today, which is called the Yoga. So he's already working on that book called Yoga Rahasya. So what is this yoga? The first chapter of that book is exactly what I talked earlier. There is a framework in which all these yogas fits. Karma yoga is not an isolated island from Upasana yoga or Bhakti yoga or Hatha yoga, etc. All these yoga has to fit into that common framework. And then while retain its own identity and practice, it has to get connected to that overall view. Otherwise, it is not yoga. Any other questions? Excellent. Thank you. Bhunaji. So we will continue with our Karma Yoga session on Sunday. And actually, then the Gita chapter 8. In one more session, we will complete that. And then we will go to Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, which is again phenomenal chapter of Gita, which will start later in April. And Atma Bodha, we need 10 more sessions. We will complete it. And then we will go to Isha Upanishad from September. I have requested Swami Sarvapriyananda to give us 2 lectures. One would be completely question answers. Probably he will talk a little bit about Bhagavad Gita. And you can ask him any questions. So please start collecting it. It could be April 24th or sometimes in May. So he agreed. So we'll pick up a morning time because India people also wanted to ask questions to him. So we'll have some satsang with a master type of series. And we'll start with Swami Sarvapriyananda. And International Day of Yoga, he is going to talk about Raja Yoga, vision of Raja Yoga. which is the vision of Swami Vivekananda. What exactly? He is the person who coined the term Raja Yoga. So he's going to talk about that. So Swami Sarvapriyananda means we will get him is one of the most popular speaker on this subject. So when he is available exclusively for us, make use of that. Any questions you can think, you can ask him. And please invite your friends. I'll tell you the date as soon as he confirms. Today I was talking to him and I requested these 2 sessions. And anybody who read the book Janaka and Ashtavakra, or if you haven't read also, I requested the author to come and give us a talk. In certain portion of that book, the same idea of Vedanta is brilliantly expressed. So he can talk about that also. So these are the 2 external events I've been discussing. Any other teacher or any other master you would like to hear, let me know. We are trying to put together the International Day of Yoga. So we will request Swami Swarupananda to come and talk. Hope you might have heard his 15 minutes talk on happiness. It was such a brilliant talk. So otherwise you can listen that in the United Consciousness channel. His talk was brilliant. In 15 minutes, he talked about that happiness which is not dependent upon anything else. So all the videos are out there, so you can watch. Okay. So Bhuvanaji, if you could do the invocation, we can close here.
I think Bhuvanaji is not there.
Okay. Anu, could you do the invocation? Purnamada Purnamidam.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.